in a minute I'm going to talk about horizontal risk issues and vertical risk issues, and it'll get a little bit more involved. But the risk base, you can read it up there. I was about to ask you, what is the risk base? There's a definition sitting there. The risk base is just the number of people in the enrollment. Go back to the example. I have 2 clients. That's a very small risk base. It means I've only got 2 people I can spread the risk between. If I have 100,000 people, I'm not going to worry too much about someone costing $20,000 because I've got 100,000 people that I'm saving money on that will pay for those high-end users. So when you hear me refer to the risk base, I'm talking about the enrollment. Yes, sir.
I apologize for you to this in the future, but the capitated rate of, say, $2,000 a month, if they don't know what their risk base is, like my MCO just came effective January 1st. They didn't know what their risk base was. They didn't have their contract negotiated yet, but they had their capitated rate figured out. Now, my budgeting experience tells me they put the cart before the horse in this, and how are they not going to go defunct by not knowing the capitated rate?
Well, it sounds like they know their capitated rate, they just don't know their base.
Right, but I mean, that capitated rate could be extremely high or it could be extremely low because they don't know the base, they don't have their contract.
And the state figures out that, all the MCOs need to stay, and that's kind of given to us, but we don't get to set it.
I'm going to do everything I can to not be or sound critical, but that's not the best way to do it. When we went...
I don't go to those meetings. I'm not in the business world, but I know they go to Madison and they get meetings and then they factor in, we give them lots of information and it's all factored in.
Okay.
And then that's how we receive.
Okay, that sounds a lot better. When we negotiated capitation, we being the state, when I was with Arizona, I would go to the federal government in Arizona and we would sit down with the federal government. I knew my risk base, I knew my outlier population, I knew I had forecasts, I had all of that information. So, and they did too.
And how often would they redo?
We negotiated every year. And then the other thing that I had to do was once I negotiated our revenue capitation from the federal government, I had to turn around and negotiate the sub-capitations with all the health plans for our acute care. So I did that after I negotiated our capitation because that way I knew how much was the maximum I could spend. Did you? Yes, ma'am.
I think what we're experiencing in Wisconsin, however, is because our family care system is rolling out slowly across the state, CEOs that are a part of providing the family care benefits members are taking a risk at assuming they're going to have a larger population. And unfortunately, the way that they may have defined or determined what their risk base was not always accurate.
Yep.
Where people with, a physical disability was maybe deemed somebody with a physical disability, forgetting they also had a developmental disability.
Right. Yeah, as we go further, you'll see areas where there are potential dangers if you're not mindful of them. And that's really kind of what the gist of the presentation is, to point out some concepts that you have to be mindful of in order for a system like this to be successful. Bear in mind that standard fee schedules and capitations can exist simultaneously. You can have a capitation to the state of Arizona, which we did, and then we bought all of our services under a standard fee schedule. And that speaks to the vertical risk profile, and I'll talk about that. It'll make more sense when I show that to you.